Blood. That's all I could smell in the arena's recycled air as I watched the human female being dragged across the crimson-stained floor. Her name was Maya Kain, and she was about to become entertainment for our glorious Emperor Vorthka. What a waste. I should explain. My name is Tsak Nor, and I serve as the Emperor's military advisor. Not by choice, mind you. When you are born into the Zorvak Dominion, you serve or you die. Simple as that. Today, I was witnessing something that would haunt my dreams for cycles to come. Behold! Emperor Vorthka's voice boomed across the Colosseum, his four arms spread wide in theatrical grandeur. The mighty human warrior who dared challenge our expansion into their pathetic solar system. His laugh was like grinding metal. Today, she learns the price of defiance. The crowd of 10,000 Zorvak nobles erupted in bloodthirsty cheers. Their crystalline teeth gleamed under the arena's harsh lights. I remained silent, studying the human below. Maya Kain, former Earth Defense Corps colonel. Captured during the Battle of Luna Station 3 rotations ago. She didn't look like much. Humans never do. Small, fragile, with their ridiculously soft skin and single hearts. This one was maybe 65 Earth years old, gray streaking through her dark hair. Her uniform was torn, revealing old battle scars across her arms. But her eyes, those green eyes, burned with something that made my secondary stomach clench. "Bring forth our champion," Vorthka commanded. The arena's gates groaned open, and out stepped Kex Hura, our finest gladiator. 3 meters of pure muscle and rage, covered in bio-armor that could deflect plasma bolts. His weapon of choice, a gravity mace that could crush bones to powder. The crowd went insane. I leaned forward in my advisory seat, mandibles clicking nervously. "My Emperor," I said through our private comlink. "Perhaps we should simply execute her quickly. Humans have proven unpredictable in combat situations." Vorthka's laugh vibrated through the comm.
Unpredictable?
"The Technor, she's an aging female from a species that can barely lift their own body weight. This will be over in seconds. The people need entertainment after our recent losses at the Proxima front." Losses. That's what he called the complete annihilation of our Third Fleet. 40,000 warriors turned to space dust by human tactical brilliance. But sure, let's call them losses. Down in the arena, Maya Kain was given a standard gladiator kit. Basic chest armor, arm guards, and a monoblade sword. Pitiful protection against Cake Shearer's arsenal. The human tested the sword's weight, then looked up at the Emperor's box. Even from this distance I could see her smile. It wasn't a nice smile. "Citizens of the Dominion," Vorthka's voice carried across the arena. "Watch as your Emperor's champion crushes this human insect. Let this be a lesson to any who dare oppose our glorious expansion." The battle horn sounded. Kex Hura raised his gravity mace and charged with a roar that shook the arena walls. His massive feet thundered across the sand, leaving deep impressions with each step. The human didn't move. She just stood there, sword lowered, watching him approach. "Move, you fool," I muttered under my breath. At the last possible second, Maya Kain shifted. Not a dodge, not a roll, just a subtle step to the left. Kex Hura's mace whistled past her head by millimeters. Before our champion could recover, her sword was moving. The blade sliced through a gap in his bio-armor, right at the neck joint. Blue blood sprayed across the sand as Kex Hura stumbled, roaring in pain and fury. The crowd's cheers faltered. "Lucky strike," Vorthka growled. Kex Hura spun around, swinging his mace in a wide arc. Maya ducked under it, then lunged forward. Her sword found another gap, this time at the knee joint. Our champion's leg buckled and he crashed to the sand with a sound like falling boulders. The arena fell silent except for Kex Hura's labored breathing. "Impossible," someone whispered behind me. I turned to see General Kirix Tur, commander of our ground forces, his face pale as moonlight. "That armor was forged by our finest smiths. There are no weak points." Maya Kain circled the fallen gladiator like a predator. Her movements were efficient, economical. No wasted motion, no showboating, just pure, calculated lethality. She's mapping his armor in real time, I realized aloud. Every joint, every seam, every possible vulnerability. Silence, Vorthkot snapped. Kexura, get up. Crush this worm. Our champion tried to rise, but Maya was already moving. Her sword found the elbow joint of his weapon arm, then the other knee, then the shoulder. Each strike was surgical, precise, designed to disable rather than kill. Within minutes, Kexura lay helpless on the blood-soaked sand, his bioarmor in pieces around him. Maya Kain stood over him, sword point at his throat, not even breathing hard. The silence in the arena was deafening. "Well?" Maya called out, her voice carrying easily in the stillness. "Is that the best the mighty Zorvak Dominion can offer? A brute in fancy armor who swings like a drunken Terran gorilla? Oh no!" She was taunting them. Taunting us. The crowd began to murmur, angry and confused. Vorthkar's four hands clenched into fists. "Release the warhounds." "My emperor," I tried to interject. "Perhaps we should release them now." The secondary gates burst open, and 6 Ketherian warhounds bounded into the arena. Each beast was the size of a small transport, with armored hides and jaws that could bite through starship hull plating. They moved with terrifying speed, their claws sparking against the metal floor. Maya Kain looked at the approaching pack and actually laughed. Laughed! In the face of creatures that had torn apart entire platoons of our soldiers. "Finally," she said, raising her sword. "Something interesting." The first hound leaped at her, jaws wide enough to swallow her whole. Maya rolled aside, her blade flashing upward as the beast sailed overhead. The mono edge found soft flesh under the armored jaw. The hound crashed to the ground, twitching once before going still. The remaining 5 attacked as a pack, coordinated and vicious. Maya moved among them like some kind of deadly dancer, her sword never stopping, never hesitating. She used their size against them, staying close where their massive jaws couldn't reach her. When one snapped at her, she was already elsewhere, opening arteries and severing tendons with surgical precision. In less than 3 minutes, all 6 warhounds lay dead around her. Maya stood in the center of the carnage, her gray hair now streaked with alien blood, her green eyes still burning with that terrible intensity. The arena was dead silent. 40,000 Zorvak nobles stared in shock at this small human female who had just dismantled our finest warriors and war beasts with nothing but a simple sword and her own skill. "Impressive," Maya called out, looking directly at Emperor Vorthkar's box. "But I'm still waiting for a real challenge. Don't tell me the great Zorvak Dominion is reduced to sending pets to do their fighting?" Vorthkar's rage was palpable. His bioluminescent patches flashed angry red as he stood from his throne. "You dare mock the might of our empire, human filth?" Maya wiped blood from her blade with casual indifference. "I'm not mocking anything. I'm simply disappointed. Your reputation suggested you might actually be worth fighting." The Emperor's 4 hands began reaching for various weapons on his belt. Combat stimulants, personal shields, a plasma pistol that could punch through tank armor. But then he paused, a cruel smile spreading across his features. "Very well, human. You want a real challenge." She gestured to someone off to the side. "Bring her." My secondary heart stopped beating entirely. They were bringing out Rix Tara. Rix Tara the Bloodborne. Rix Tara the Undefeated. Rix Tara who had single-handedly conquered 14 worlds for the Dominion. If Kix Tara was our finest gladiator, then Rix Tara was our ultimate weapon of war. She emerged from the champion's gate like death itself. 2.5 meters of pure killing machine, her bio-armor wasn't just protective gear, it was a living symbiote that enhanced her already superhuman abilities. In her hands she carried the twin blades of suffering, weapons forged from the cores of dead stars. The crowd found their voices again, chanting her name with religious fervor. Even I felt the pull of her legend. In 300 years of active service, Rix Tara had never lost a battle, never shown mercy, never hesitated to do whatever was necessary for victory. Maya Kain studied the newcomer with professional interest. If she was intimidated, she didn't show it. "Now this," she said, settling into a combat stance, "looks promising. Rextera said nothing. She never spoke before battle. She simply raised her star-forged blades and began to move. What followed wasn't a fight, it was poetry written in violence. Rextera moved with inhuman speed and grace, her twin blades creating a web of death around her. Maya met her attack for attack, her simple mono blade somehow managing to deflect strikes that should have cut through molecular bonds. They danced across the arena floor, leaving trails of sparks where their weapons clashed. Rextera's bio-armor adapted in real time, hardening at impact points, extending razor-sharp protrusions where Maya tried to grapple. But the human adapted too, switching styles mid-combat, using techniques I'd never seen before. Where did she learn to fight like that? General Caxter whispered. I was beginning to understand. She's not just a soldier, I said slowly. She's a student. She's been studying us. All of us. Every battle, every tactic, every weakness. The realization hit me like a plasma bolt to the chest. The Battle of Luna Station. It hadn't been a desperate last stand by human forces. It had been a trap. They had sacrificed an entire battle group just to capture one of our strategic assets, Maya Kain herself, and she had let herself be captured. But why? What could one human accomplish against the might of the Dominion? Down in the arena, the battle was reaching its climax. Rextera had backed Maya against the arena wall, her twin blades moving in perfect synchronization. There was nowhere left to run, nowhere to hide. This was it. Maya Kain smiled again. That same terrible smile. Thank you, she said to Rextera. I have learned everything I need to know. Before any of us could process what she meant, Maya did something impossible. She dropped her sword, stepped inside Rextera's guard, and pressed both hands against the champion's chest plate. Maya Kain, Colonel, Earth Defense Corps, she said clearly, her voice carrying across the silent arena. Serial number 77 Alpha Niner 26 Whiskey. There was a soft beep. Rextera's bio-armor began to glow. Not the healthy blue of Zorvak technology, but the harsh white of human engineering. The crowd gasped as cracks appeared in the living armor, spreading outward from where Maya's hands touched. Impossible, Vorthka breathed. That armor is bonded at the genetic level. Nothing can separate. His words died as Rextera's bio-armor simply fell off. The living symbiote that had made her invincible crumbled to dust, leaving our ultimate warrior standing in nothing but basic underpadding. She looked down at herself in shock, then at Maya, then at her star-forged blades. They were cracking too. Molecular disintegration virus, Maya explained conversationally, picking up her sword, keyed to Zorvak biosignatures. Took our scientists 12 years to develop it. We have been waiting for the right moment to field test. The twin blades of suffering shattered like glass. You see, Maya continued, addressing the stunned arena. I volunteered for this mission. Let myself be captured. Endured 3 years of captivity, just to get close enough to your emperor and his champions. To learn your weaknesses. To confirm our theories about Zorvak biotechnology. She turned to face Vorthka's box directly. And to deliver a message. The silence was absolute. 40,000 Zorvak nobles held their breath as this small human female stood alone in the center of their greatest arena, surrounded by the corpses of their champions, and smiled. The message is simple, Maya said. Humanity remembers Luna Station. We remember every world you have burned, every colony you have enslaved, every human life you have taken in your expansion. And we are coming for you. Her hand moved to something on her belt. A small device I hadn't noticed before. In approximately 60 seconds, human fleets will drop out of hyperspace in 7 key Dominion systems. Your homeworld, your core industrial centers, your military academies. While you have been playing games in this arena, we have been positioning our forces. Emperor Vorthka finally found his voice. Impossible. Our intelligence networks would have detected any fleet movements. Maya's laugh was cold as vacuum. Your intelligence networks have been feeding you false data for the past 18 months. Did you really think we didn't notice when you started recruiting human collaborators? Every piece of information you have received about human fleet positions, troop strengths, and defensive capabilities has been carefully crafted fiction. She pressed a button on her device. Alarms began blaring throughout the arena complex. Emergency lights bathed everything in red. In the distance I could hear the distinctive whine of hyperspace rifts opening. The age of human passivity is over, Maya announced to the panicking crowd. Today the prey becomes the predator. Today we hunt you. Through the arena's transparent dome, I saw them. Dozens of human warships materializing in the skies above our capital world. Ships that moved like nothing I'd ever seen before, their hulls gleaming with unfamiliar technology. Emperor Vorthkab was screaming orders into his communicator, his forearms gesticulating wildly. Deploy the orbital defense platforms. Launch all available fighters. Contact the Third Fleet. The Third Fleet is gone, my Emperor, I said quietly. Remember our recent losses at the Proxima front? He turned to stare at me, his eyes wide with the first taste of real fear I'd ever seen from him. Down in the arena, Maya Kain stood calmly in the center of the chaos, still holding her simple monoblade. Around her, pieces of destroyed Zorvak champions lay scattered like broken toys. Above her, human ships moved into attack formation with predatory grace. This is just the beginning, she called out over the alarms. For too long you have seen humans as weak, as prey to be hunted and consumed. Today you learn what happens when prey evolves. The first bombardment struck the outer city. The arena shook, dust raining from the ceiling. Panic spread through the noble sections as the reality of the situation hit home. Maya looked up at Emperor Vorthkap one last time. See you on the battlefield, she said. Then the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in 3 seconds later, bathing the arena in hellish red light. The noble spectators were screaming, trampling each other in their panic to reach the exits. I remained in my advisory seat, watching the tactical displays that were still functioning. What I saw made my blood run cold. Human ships weren't just attacking randomly. They were striking with surgical precision, targeting our command centers, communications hubs, and orbital defense platforms in perfect coordination. This wasn't an invasion, it was a dissection. The Conquest, Emperor Vorthkab grabbed my shoulder with 2 of his hands, his claws digging deep enough to draw blood. Explain this. How did they penetrate our defenses? I looked at him, this being who had ruled through fear and brutality for 3 centuries, and saw something I'd never seen before. Terror. Pure, undiluted terror. My Emperor, I said carefully, I believe we have been outplayed. Down in the arena, Maya Kain was no longer alone. Human soldiers were rappelling through the broken sections of the dome, their armor unlike anything in our databases. It moved like liquid metal, shifting and adapting to threats in real time. Their weapons fired projectiles that seemed to phase through our defensive barriers. Impossible, Vorthkap snarled. Humans don't have that technology. One of the human soldiers landed near Maya, removing his helmet to reveal a scarred face and gray hair. He looked to be about the same age as Maya, with the same dangerous competence in his movements. Colonel Kain, he said with obvious relief. Admiral Torres sends his compliments. The fleet's in position, and all primary objectives are secured. Maya nodded, wiping alien blood from her blade. Casualties, Marcus? Minimal on our side. Turns out their defenses were exactly where you said they'd be. Marcus grinned. Expression that somehow managed to be more terrifying than any Zorvak war cry I'd ever heard. Amazing what you can accomplish when the enemy thinks you are primitive. Primitive, Maya repeated, testing the word. She looked up at our box, her green eyes finding mine through the chaos. Marcus, do you remember what the Zorvak called humans when they first invaded Earth's space? Cattle, wasn't it? Cattle, Maya confirmed. Dumb animals fit only for slaughter and consumption. She began walking toward the arena's edge, where stairs led up to the noble seating areas. Other human soldiers formed up around her, their movements coordinated and professional. My Emperor, I said urgently, we need to evacuate. Now. But Vorthkap was frozen, staring at the tactical displays as red markers indicated the fall of system after system. The Keth Nebula mining complex, the Vorax military academy, the Zex prime shipyards. All gone in the space of minutes. 300 years, he whispered. 300 years of expansion, of conquest. How? The answer came from an unexpected source. Maya Kain's voice, amplified by some human device, echoed through the arena's sound system. How indeed, she said, climbing the stairs with deliberate slowness. Shall I tell you a story, Emperor? A story about cattle who learned to think. She paused on the first landing, looking around at the fleeing nobles with obvious contempt. 57 years ago you attacked our first colony world, New Geneva. Population, 2 million civilians. You bombed them from orbit, then landed ground forces to hunt down the survivors. For sport. Another step up. Another pause. The survivors told us interesting things when we found them. About Zorvak battle tactics, about your weapons, about your armor, but most importantly about your psychology. I felt a chill run down my spine. She was talking about intelligence gathering. Systematic, long-term intelligence gathering. You see, Emperor, you made a fundamental error in judgment. You assumed that because we looked weak, we were weak. Because we seemed primitive, we were primitive. Because we ran from your initial attacks, we were cowards. Another step, the human soldiers flanking her moved like shadows, their weapons trained on every exit. What you failed to understand is that humans have spent 57 years studying you, learning from you, adapting to you. Every attack you made on our worlds taught us something new about your capabilities. Every victory you celebrated gave us more data to analyze. She reached the second landing. We were in the third tier. Getting closer. The Battle of Luna Station wasn't a last-ditch defense, Emperor. It was a field test. We wanted to see how our new weapons performed against your best ships. The results were education. Lies. Vorthka finally found his voice. Our fleets are invincible. Our technology is superior. Maya's laugh carried clearly through the arena. Your fleets are target practice, and your technology is obsolete. Did you really think a species capable of faster-than-light travel couldn't improve their weapons given enough time and motivation? She gestured to one of her soldiers, who stepped forward and raised his rifle. The weapon hummed with barely contained energy. This is a Mark 7 plasma lance. It fires concentrated stellar material at 97% light speed. The projectile phases through molecular bonds until it reaches its target, then resolves into normal matter. Effective range, approximately 50 kilometers. In atmosphere, the soldier fired a single shot at a decorative statue on the far side of the arena. The statue simply ceased to exist, leaving behind only a small crater in the wall. Your bioarmor, Maya continued climbing. We developed a molecular disintegration virus specifically designed to target Zorvak genetic markers. Or energy shields. We discovered they have a resonance frequency that can be exploited to create cascade failures. Your warhounds, susceptible to ultrasonic frequencies that scramble their nervous systems. Third landing. One more tier to go. But the most important thing we learned about you, Emperor, is that you are predictable. Arrogant? You follow the same patterns, use the same strategies, make the same assumptions that have served you for centuries. Emperor Vorthka was backing away from the edge of our box, his four hands fumbling for weapons. Guards! Where are my guards? Dead? Marcus called out cheerfully. Sorry about that. We needed to secure the area. Maya reached the final stairway leading to the Imperial box. She paused there, looking up at us with those terrible green eyes. The age of Zorvak dominance is over, she said simply. Today marks the beginning of human expansion into this galaxy. And unlike your empire, ours will be built on something more substantial than fear and brutality. You are talking about genocide. I found myself saying. The complete destruction of our species. Maya tilted her head, considering my words. Genocide, she repeated. An interesting choice of words from a species that has exterminated 43 intelligent races in the past 3 centuries. She began climbing the final steps. No, Thaknor. We are not interested in genocide. We are interested in justice. She reached the top of the stairs, her soldiers spreading out to cover all exits from the Imperial box. Up close, I could see the scars on her arms more clearly. torture marks, interrogation burns, the kinds of injuries that come from 3 years in Zorvak captivity. You want to know the truth? Maya said, addressing Vorthke directly. The human fleet that's currently dismantling your empire isn't our main force. It's a reconnaissance group. Our actual battle fleets are still being constructed in the Taos Sati shipyards. The Emperor's face went pale. How many ships? Maya smiled that terrible smile again. Enough. More than enough. Through the arena's broken dome, I could see human ships moving in perfect formation, their weapons systematically destroying our orbital installations. No waste. No unnecessary destruction. Just methodical, professional elimination of military targets. The Zorvak Dominion had its chance to coexist peacefully, Maya continued. When first contact was made 57 years ago, our diplomats attempted negotiation. Your response was to glass our embassy ship and declare humans a slave species. She walked over to Emperor Vorthka's throne, running her hand along its ornate surface. This throne is carved from the bones of a Calorian queen, isn't it? The Calorians were the last species to resist your expansion before you encountered us. Peaceful beings, philosophers and artists. You hunted them to extinction because they refused to surrender their homeworld. Vorthka said nothing. What could he say? The Trelaxians, the Vorthen Collective, the benthic communes, 43 species all erased from the galaxy because they had something you wanted or simply stood in your way. Maya sat down on the throne, her simple combat fatigues a stark contrast to its elaborate construction. But humans are different, aren't we? We don't just resist. We adapt, we learn, we evolve. And when we are pushed far enough, we push back. The tactical displays around the Imperial box were painting a picture of complete strategic collapse. Every major Zorvak stronghold was either under attack or had already fallen. 3 centuries of expansion, undone in a matter of hours. This is impossible, Vorthka whispered. Our empire spans 12 star systems. Our population numbers in the billions. You cannot Your empire spans 12 star systems that are now cut off from each other. Maya interrupted. Your communication networks are down, your supply lines are severed. Your military command structure has been decapitated. She gestured to Marcus, who activated a holographic display showing the current state of Zorvak space. Red markers indicated human fleet positions. Blue markers showed remaining Zorvak forces. There were a lot more red markers. Each of your systems is now under human control, Maya explained. Not occupied, controlled. We have seized your orbital platforms, your communications satellites, your defense networks. Your own technology is now being used against you. I stared at the display, trying to process what I was seeing. It wasn't possible. No species could move this quickly. Coordinate attacks across multiple star systems simultaneously, maintain such precise control over complex military operations. Unless, how long have you been planning this? I asked. Maya looked at me with something that might have been respect. Smart question. The initial planning began 56 years ago, immediately after the New Geneva massacre. Active preparations started 30 years ago when we confirmed that diplomacy was impossible. Full implementation began 18 months ago when we started feeding false intelligence to your networks. 18 months, I repeated numbly. We have been fighting shadows for 18 months. Not shadows, Marcus corrected. Ghosts. Every human fleet you thought you destroyed was a holographic projection backed by automated drones. Every victory you celebrated was carefully orchestrated theater designed to keep you overconfident and unprepared. Maya stood from the throne, her expression becoming deadly serious. But the real genius of the operation wasn't the military planning. It was the psychological component. You see, Emperor, we studied you very carefully. We learned that Zorvak's psychology is built around dominance displays and personal combat. Your entire culture revolves around the idea that might makes right. She gestured around the arena. So we gave you what you wanted. A grand spectacle. A chance to humiliate a captured human warrior in front of your entire nobility. We knew you couldn't resist the opportunity to demonstrate your superiority. Understanding hit me like a plasma bolt. The arena combat. It was all a distraction. While you were enjoying the show, Maya confirmed, human strike teams were infiltrating every major installation in your empire. Your attention was focused down here, on one aging human with a sword, while your entire civilization was being systematically dismantled around you. Emperor Vorthkaid finally seemed to grasp the magnitude of what had happened. His four arms dropped to his sides, his bioluminescent patches fading to dull gray. "You have destroyed us," he said simply. "No," Maya replied. "We have liberated this galaxy from you. There's a difference." She walked over to the edge of the Imperial box, looking out over the arena where the bodies of Zorvak champions lay scattered like broken toys. "Your species will survive, Emperor. Those who surrender and accept human authority will be relocated to reservation worlds where you can live out your lives in peace. Those who continue to resist will be eliminated." "Reservation worlds," Vorthkai spat. "You mean prisons?" Maya turned to face him, her green eyes cold as vacuum. "I mean exactly what I said. Comfortable worlds with adequate resources and freedom to maintain your culture, which is more mercy than you showed any of the species you exterminated." The sound of approaching aircraft grew louder. Through the broken dome, I could see human transport ships moving toward the arena. "It's time to go, Colonel," Marcus said. "Admiral Torres wants a full debrief before we move on to the next phase." "Next phase?" I asked. Maya looked at me with that terrible smile one last time. "Oh, did I forget to mention? This operation isn't limited to Zorvak space. We have identified 17 aggressive species in this galactic sector that pose threats to peaceful civilizations. Today was just the beginning." The transport ships were landing now, their engines whining as they settled onto the arena floor. Human soldiers began filing out, their movements precise and coordinated. These weren't the same troops who had accompanied Maya into the arena. These were fresh reinforcements, ready for whatever came next. 17 species, I repeated, my mind struggling to process the implications. "You are talking about reshaping the entire galactic balance of power." Maya nodded, checking something on her wrist communicator. "The hegemony of 6. The carnivore fleets of Gorath Prime. The hive mind collectives of the Outer Rim. All of them follow the same pattern. Expand, conquer, consume. All of them need to be stopped." Emperor Vorthkad laughed bitterly. "And you think you can simply impose your will across the galaxy? Other species have tried to create galactic empires. They all fell eventually. We are not building an empire," Maya said calmly. "We are building a network." She gestured to Marcus, who activated another holographic display. This one showed star charts extending far beyond Zorvak space, with dozens of systems marked in various colors. Green markers represent species that have already agreed to join the Human Protection Alliance. Blue markers are neutral civilizations that pose no threat to their neighbors. Yellow markers are aggressive species currently under evaluation. I studied the display, my mandibles clicking in nervous habit. The green markers vastly outnumbered all others combined. "The Altarian Federation," Maya continued, pointing to a cluster of green markers. "Peaceful traders and explorers. They have been fighting a defensive war against 6 raiders for the past decade. As of 6 hours ago, their territory is under Human Protection Alliance jurisdiction." Another cluster. "The benevolent communes of Vega 7. Philosophers and healers who have never harmed another sentient being. The carnivore fleets have been hunting them for genetic material to fuel their bioweapons research." More green markers appeared as Maya spoke. "The Crystal Singers of Tau Epsilon. The Nomadic Archives of the Void. The Symbiotic Collective of New Terra Minor. Dozens of peaceful civilizations that have lived in fear for generations." "You see, Emperor," Maya said, turning back to face Vorthka, "while you and species like you have spent centuries consuming everything in your path, the galaxy is actually full of civilizations that want nothing more than to live, learn, and grow in peace." Marcus stepped forward, his scarred face grim. "The math is simple. Aggressive species make up maybe 5% of intelligent life in this sector, but they control 60% of the resources and territory through force and intimidation. We are correcting that imbalance," Maya added. Through the arena's broken dome, I could see more human ships arriving. But these weren't warships. They were massive cargo vessels, mobile construction platforms, and what looked like hospital ships. The occupation begins immediately, Maya explained, following my gaze. Medical teams to treat the wounded, engineering corps to repair infrastructure damage, administrative personnel to establish interim governments. You are serious about this, I said, still not quite believing what I was hearing. You are actually going to try to govern Zorvak worlds. Temporarily, Maya corrected. Until stable local governments can be established. Democratic governments elected by the people rather than imposed through conquest. Emperor Vorthka spat on the floor, his bioluminescent patches flashing angry red. The democracy is weakness. It leads to chaos and inefficiency. Only the strong should rule. Maya looked at him with something resembling pity. And that attitude, Emperor, is exactly why your species had to be stopped. She activated her communicator again. Admiral Torres, this is Colonel Kain. The primary objective is secure. Beginning Phase 2 extraction procedures. A new voice crackled through the device, deep, authoritative, with the unmistakable tone of absolute command. Acknowledged, Colonel. Outstanding work as always. Transport is standing by for your return to the flagship. Copy that, Admiral. Kain out. Maya turned to survey the Imperial box one last time, her eyes lingering on the elaborate decorations made from the bones of extinct species. This will all be torn down, of course, she said, conversationally. Replaced with something more appropriate, perhaps a memorial to the species your empire destroyed. You cannot simply erase 3 centuries of Zorvak culture. Vorthka protested. We are not erasing your culture, Maya replied. We are ending your empire. There's a difference. Zorvak art, literature, music, philosophy, all of that will be preserved, but your military traditions, your conquest mythology, your glorification of violence, those end today. She walked over to where I still sat in my advisory chair, studying me with those penetrating green eyes. You are different from the others, aren't you? Taxnor, you actually think before you act. Analyze before you react. I wasn't sure how to respond to that. In Zorvak culture, being called thoughtful wasn't necessarily a compliment. I have been watching you during this entire encounter, Maya continued. You have been processing, learning, adapting. Most of your species would still be roaring challenges and making threats. But you are trying to understand. Understanding is survival, I said carefully. My species taught me that much. Maya nodded approvingly. Good. Then you will understand why what happens next is necessary. She activated her communicator once more. Control, this is Colonel Kain. Initiate Protocol 7 across all occupied systems. Protocol 7 confirmed. Colonel broadcasting now. Every functioning display screen in the arena complex flickered to life simultaneously. The image that appeared showed Maya herself, but this was obviously a pre-recorded message. She stood in what looked like the command center of a human warship, flanked by officers from multiple species. Citizens of the former Zorvak Dominion, the recorded Maya began. I am Colonel Maya Kain of the Human Defense Corps and acting military governor of this sector. As of this moment, all Zorvak military forces are ordered to surrender unconditionally. The camera panned to show representatives from various alien species. Some I recognized as former Zorvak subjects. Others were completely unknown to me. This is not a conquest, the message continued. This is a liberation. For too long, peaceful species throughout this sector have lived under the threat of Zorvak expansion and aggression. That threat has been permanently eliminated. The recording showed tactical displays, identical to the ones we'd seen in the Imperial box. System after system marked with human control indicators. All Zorvak civilians will be treated with dignity and respect, provided they comply with transition protocols. Medical assistance is available for the wounded. Food and shelter will be provided for refugees. No civilian targets will be harmed. Emperor Vorthka was staring at the displays with undisguised horror. The reality of total defeat was finally sinking in. However, the recorded Maya's tone became harder. Any military resistance will be met with overwhelming force. Any attempts to harm civilian populations will result in immediate and permanent consequences. Any acts of sabotage against infrastructure or supply systems will be considered acts of war. The camera focused solely on Maya's face for the final portion of the message. The age of conquest is over in this sector. The age of cooperation begins now. To the peaceful species who have suffered under Zorvak oppression, you are free. To the Zorvak people themselves, you have a choice. Embrace this new era and find your place in a galaxy of equals, or cling to the failed ideologies of your past and face the consequences. The message ended, leaving the arena in silence except for the growing sound of human aircraft operations outside. Nicely done, the real Maya said, watching her recorded self fade from the screens. We transmitted that simultaneously to every occupied world. By now the entire Zorvak population knows exactly what they are dealing with. Marcus received a transmission through his own communicator, listened briefly, then reported to Maya. Colonel, Admiral Torres reports that all primary objectives across the sector have been achieved. Resistance has been minimal. Most Zorvak commanders are requesting terms of surrender. Casualties? Human casualties remain minimal. Zorvak military losses are estimated at 73%, but most of those are equipment destruction rather than personnel. We have been taking prisoners wherever possible. Maya nodded with satisfaction. Good. The point was never to commit genocide, just to end their ability to threaten others. She turned back to Emperor Zorvak, who stood slumped against his throne like a broken statue. You have a decision to make, Emperor. You can accept reality and work with us to ensure a smooth transition for your people, or you can maintain your pride and spend the rest of your life in a detention facility while others make those decisions for you. Zorvak looked up at her, his 4 eyes burning with helpless rage. And if I cooperate, what then? Then you help us establish a democratic government for the Zorvak people. You use your influence to prevent unnecessary bloodshed during the transition. You assist in the identification and rehabilitation of war criminals. War criminals, he repeated numbly. Those responsible for the systematic extermination of intelligent species. Those who ordered attacks on civilian populations. Those who participated in the slave trade or biological weapons programs. Maya's expression softened slightly. I know this is difficult to accept, Emperor. Your entire worldview is being challenged. But consider the alternative. Continued warfare that can only end in the complete destruction of your species. She gestured toward the displays still showing human fleet positions. We have the capability to sterilize every Zorvak world from orbit, to hunt down every member of your species hiding in deep space, to ensure that Zorvak civilization becomes nothing more than a cautionary tale told by survivors. The threat hung in the air like toxic gas. I found myself holding my breath, waiting for Zorvak's response. But we don't want to do that, Maya continued. Genocide serves no constructive purpose. We'd rather see the Zorvak people find a new path forward, one based on cooperation rather than domination. Emperor Zorvak was silent for a long moment, his bioluminescent patches cycling through various colors as he processed his options. Finally, he straightened to his full height and met Maya's gaze directly. What guarantees do I have that you will honor your agreements? Maya smiled. Not the terrible predator smile from before, but something warmer, more human. You have the word of someone who spent 3 years in Zorvak captivity rather than break under interrogation. Someone who endured torture and isolation because she believed in something greater than herself. She held out her hand in the human gesture of agreement. You also have the practical consideration that we gain nothing by betraying you. Our goal is a stable, peaceful sector. That's only possible if all species feel they have a stake in the new order. Zorvak stared at her outstretched hand for several seconds. Then slowly he reached out with one of his 4 arms and clasped it. I accept your terms, he said quietly. But I want it on record that I do this for my people, not because I believe in your vision. Understood, Maya replied. And Emperor? Your people will remember that when it mattered most, you chose their survival over your pride. The transport ships had finished loading. Human soldiers were forming up in orderly ranks, ready to move on to the next phase of operations. The occupation of Zorvak space was proceeding with mechanical efficiency. Colonel Kain, Marcus called out. All units report ready for departure. Maya nodded. then turned to me one final time. The Kainor, I have an offer for you. Your analytical skills and knowledge of Zorvak psychology could be valuable during the transition period. Would you be willing to serve as a liaison between human administration and the local population? I considered the offer carefully. My old life as the Emperor's military advisor was over regardless of what I chose. The question was whether I wanted to help shape whatever came next. What would my duties involve? Helping to establish communication protocols, advising on cultural sensitivities, assisting in the identification of Zorvak officials willing to work within the new system. And if I refuse, then you are free to return to civilian life on whichever world you choose. We are not interested in forcing cooperation. I looked around the arena one last time, at the bodies of champions who had died for the entertainment of nobles, at the throne carved from the bones of extinct species, at the emperor who had ruled through fear and brutality for 3 centuries. I accept, I said. Perhaps it's time for a different kind of Zorvak to help shape our future. Maya's smile was genuinely warm this time. Welcome to the Human Protection Alliance, Thekinor. I think you are going to find it very different from what you are used to. As the human forces prepared to depart, I found myself thinking about the future. For the first time in my life, it wasn't a future dominated by conquest and expansion. It was something else entirely, uncertain, challenging, but somehow full of possibilities I'd never imagined. The age of the Zorvak dominion was over. The age of whatever came next was just beginning. And perhaps for the first time in centuries that wasn't such a terrifying prospect. Maya Kain, the aging human female who had walked into this arena as a prisoner, was walking out as the architect of galactic transformation. She had accomplished something that should have been impossible, not just defeating a superior military force, but doing it in such a way that cooperation became preferable to continued resistance. As I followed the human column out of the arena, I realized I had witnessed something unprecedented in galactic history. Not just the fall of an empire, but its replacement with something that might actually work. The prey had indeed become the predator. But more importantly, the predator had chosen to become something else entirely, something better.